Hi, my name is John Egan. I'm a partner with Seyfarth and a member of our ADA Title III team. Welcome to the third and final installment of ADA 30, 30 Tips for 30 Years. This final installment of 10 tips will cover effective communication. They'll address how to appropriately and effectively communicate with people with disabilities. Now, if you've missed our first segment, addressing accessible facilities, or our second segment, covering reasonable modifications of policies, practices, and procedures, simply click the links to these segments in the description below. As a team, it's been our pleasure to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the ADA by sharing these tips with you. We hope that you've enjoyed these videos, and we encourage you to share them with your employees and with other businesses. Thank you.
People who are blind or have low vision may need help navigating your facility, finding products, and reading product price information or signs and other signage. The ADA requires public accommodations to provide assistance to such customers if they need it. Let's take a look at the right way to do this during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Welcome to the Rabbit Run Winery. How can I help you?
Yes, I'm here for a wine tasting.
What's your name?
Matt Ader.
I see you right here. Your table is ready. So, since we're social distancing, I'm going to give you verbal directions for how to get to your table. Is that all right?
That'd be great.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Mr. Ader, just proceed straight. Okay, now you're going to proceed straight again. Our sommelier is waiting for you.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
All right, we'll have a wonderful tasting.
Thank you.
When the COVID-19 pandemic is over, employees can guide customers by offering an arm and walking with them to their desired location. Employees should never grab the customer's arm or assistive device, such as a person's wheelchair.
Good evening. Are you ready to place your order?
Yes, I am. I'm having a little problem reading the menu. Can you read your menu for me, please?
I'm kind of busy. Can you ask your friend?
That was an example of what not to do. In every business, there will be written information that individuals who are blind or have low vision cannot see, such as menus, prices, signage, or product information. Your employees should be prepared to read this information aloud, making sure they are patient, thorough, and accurate. Let's see what I mean.
Good evening. Are you ready to place your order?
Yes, I am, but I'm having a little problem reading the menu. Could you read the menu for me, please?
Of course. Is there a specific type of dish you're interested in, or would you like me to read the entire menu from the beginning?
Now that's an example of good, effective communication under the ADA.
A person who is blind or who has low vision may ask for documents in alternative formats, such as Braille, large print, or electronic. You must consider and agree to those requests unless it would pose an undue burden or fundamentally change the nature of your business.
Hi, I have a reservation for 4 under Fritz.
You must be the brother. Does he need something?
Excuse me, sir. I'm here with a reservation for 4 people under the last name Fritz.
If he has a reservation, he needs to wait for his entire party before I can see.
Believe it or not, that actually happens all the time to people with disabilities. and it's not appropriate. When speaking with a person with a disability who may have a companion, an interpreter, a spouse, or anyone else with them, remember, if the person with the disability is communicating with you, you should look at, address, and communicate with that person. And even if it's easier to communicate with the person that they're with, because the person with the disability may be harder to understand, or it's just more efficient, it doesn't matter. You should still use your best efforts to communicate with the person that is communicating with you. And don't forget to make eye contact. Let's try that again. Hi, I have a reservation for 4 under Fritz.
Did you say Fritz?
Yes.
Is your party here?
They're walking up right now.
Okay, right this way.
Self-service kiosks, such as those that rent DVDs, count your coins, sell lotto tickets, and even allow for check-in to hotels, can be a great way to provide goods and services, but many cannot be used by people with disabilities because the controls or screens are too high, or they can only be operated by sighted people. For these reasons, businesses should try to provide kiosks that can be independently used by people with disabilities. To be accessible to people who are blind or have low vision, a kiosk must convey the visual information through speech output. In addition, there must be an interface, like a raised keypad, that blind users can detect and use. To be accessible to people who have mobility disabilities, the kiosk needs to be on an accessible path of travel, have all operable parts within accessible reach ranges, and a screen that can be seen by someone who is seated in a wheelchair. Now, if you have a kiosk that cannot be used by a person who has a disability, make sure that your employees are trained to provide prompt assistance.
The ADA was passed before the emergence of websites and mobile apps, but today, the internet is like an ocean of information. To navigate this vast expanse, people with disabilities use various forms of assistive technology.
For people with visual disabilities, a screen reader is a useful tool. It converts visual content into audible form.
How to make publishing platforms more accessible. The Pagelo Group. 10 easy website accessibility quick tips and recommendation. Back, button, image, sign, image. 10 easy website accessibility quick tips and recommendations. Heading.
Subscribe to the Freedom Scientific Training Podcast. Visited heading level 2 link. Enter. Freedom Scientific blog news from the cutting edge of assistive technology - Microsoft Edge - personal. No more headings of level 1. Where to subscribe and listen heading level 2.
People with certain physical disabilities use screen readers too. For those with hearing disabilities, captions provide a visual presentation of audible narrative content. Consider the accessibility of your websites and mobile apps. Making these resources accessible will help people with disabilities navigate our increasingly digital world.
If a person who is deaf or hard of hearing shows up at your business, would you know how to communicate with them? Well, it depends. You have to take into account the person's preferred method of communicating, as well as the length and complexity of the communication. For a simple communication, such as a restaurant transaction or providing directions, you can communicate by exchanging handwritten notes or by gesturing. For a communication that's longer or complicated, such as discussing treatment options with the doctor, then you will need an in-person sign language interpreter, a video remote interpreting service, or a communication access real-time translation service called CART.
Have you ever wondered how people who are deaf or hard of hearing make telephone calls? They use telecommunications relay services, TRS for short. Here's how it works. The person who is deaf or hard of hearing connects with a relay operator through the internet and communicates with them by typing or using sign language. The person may also connect with a relay operator through the phone line by typing into a device called a TTY. The relay operator then calls the business on the telephone.
ATI Inc., how can I help you? Sure, we can help you with that. Go ahead.
When the call comes into the business, it is just like any other phone call, except the relay operator announces that he or she is calling from a relay service. The relay operator then speaks the words being typed or signed by the caller to the business, and then types or signs what the business says back to the caller.
There's only one rule that businesses need to remember when accepting a relay call. Take the call exactly the same way as you would handle any other call. Don't subject the call to heightened security requirements or transfer it to another department. Just treat it the same as every other call and you're going to be good to go.
Did you notice that all 3 parts of our video series have closed captioning and audio descriptions? Closed captioning is necessary for people who are deaf or hearing impaired to understand the audio content. Audio description is an audio narration of key visual elements in a video which allows people who are blind or low vision to understand what is happening on the screen.
A woman identified as Ashley Arnett is shown. Animations of a Segway and a golf cart are superimposed over her as they move to opposite corners of the screens.
Providing closed captioning and audio description for your videos is not that difficult. You can hire a company to create these files for you, or you can do it yourself. Some video platforms, such as YouTube, have tools to allow you to create your own closed captioning by using automatically generated captions that you must then edit for accuracy. You can also upload your own transcript and then match that script with the audio on the screen. For audio descriptions, there are websites where you can create those for free, including the one we use for this video series.
The scene opens with a palm tree in the foreground and an azure blue ocean in the background. The words Nature Relaxation Films Presents appear.
Accuracy is key, so don't just rely on auto captioning to get the job done.
Hi, my name is Kevin Fritz. I am a senior associate at Seyfarth Shaw and a core team member of Seyfarth's ADA Title III team. I am a colleague, a son, a brother, a mentor, a friend. I am also a person with a disability. I use a motorized wheelchair and other assistive technology to interact independently in my environment. Whether taking a deposition, traveling to court or a site inspection, or even editing this entire video series. My limited physical mobility does not limit my ability to achieve. I am sharing this with you because it relates to my first tip about language. That is, never make any assumptions about what people can and cannot do. So if you see someone who may have a disability in your business, don't assume. And if it is your general practice to do so for all customers, simply ask, can I help you? As you would with any other patron. Let the individual tell you what they need, if they need anything at all. Second, while I can't speak for everyone, people with disabilities generally do not like to be defined by their disabilities. For some, a person's disability may be the core of their identity, but that's not the case for everyone. So as a general rule, start with people first language. For example, Instead of saying the wheelchair user, refer to the person without reference to the disability or assistive device, unless the information is relevant to the discussion. Or, when necessary, refer to the person as the person who uses the wheelchair. Remember, people first is the default rule. Third, while I shouldn't have to say this, it is never appropriate to use words such as retarded, handicapped, crippled, or wheelchair-bound. I realize that handicapped still appears on many parking signs, but this has been considered offensive to people with disabilities for many years. The correct language is accessible parking. Seyfarth's ADA Title III team and I hope that this series has been helpful and informative to you. Providing great service to people with disabilities makes good business sense, results in compliance with the law, and is the right thing to do. Stay safe, be well, and happy birthday to the ADA!